Allah is my heart's speech. Your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to the first Ask Huda live broadcasting from Jeddah after the month of Ramadan. And I pray to Allah Azza wa Jal that Allah accepts all of our deeds, prayers and fasting in Ramadan and in other months other than Ramadan. And until we receive your phone calls, I have a number of emails. The first question is from Anjum. And he says that after a fight, a husband says talaq 3 times to his 7-month pregnant wife and throws her out of the house. He keeps his parents as witness to it. Then he wants to reconcile. When wife tells about the talaq, he says he was drunk, and so it is not valid. However, the wife does not think that he was drunk. Now, what is the Islamic ruling on this situation? Is the marriage intact because the husband is saying he was drunk? First of all, the scholars differed whether the talaq, the divorce of a drunk person, takes place or not. Without going into details, the most authentic opinion is that a person, when he's intoxicated, when he's drunk, his divorce does not take place. His actions have no value because he does not have his mind with him. He's intoxicated. He's sort of insane. He doesn't know what he's doing. This is the first point I'd like to clear out. Secondly, usually in issues of divorce, the couple should go to the Muslim court where they would consult a Muslim judge who would give them the verdict, because it differs from one country to the other, and it is wise to go to somewhere else where you have the ruling in your country. But if presuming that they don't have any Muslim court in their country, this is the ruling. Thirdly, the divorce takes place only once. Even if the husband says, you're divorced, 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 taliq, 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 1,000 times, it only takes place once. So if this was the first incident that the husband divorced his wife, in worst case scenario, he can reconcile, because this would be considered to be the first or the second. So he still has the option to reconcile as long as his wife did not deliver. Once he divorces his wife, she is in the waiting period until she delivers. If she delivers, then immediately she is not his wife. To be able to reconcile, he has to have a new marriage contract and a dowry and approval of her guardian, etc. And having said that, we urge the Muslims, the brothers and the sisters, not to be hasty while involved in such issues of divorce, because this is not the Islamic way of giving divorce. Now, does the divorce take place if she's pregnant? And the answer, the consensus of scholars, is that it does take place. So 1 is down, 2 to go, unless he is drunk. But if the wife does not believe he's drunk, this is not her say, as long as it is the first or the second divorce. If it is the third divorce, the last and final divorce, he divorced her twice before and they're all valid, and this is the third divorce, and she is sure and certain that he was not intoxicated, she cannot stay with him. But if it's only the first divorce, even if given in 3 times a row, this has no value, and it takes only one place if he is not drunk. But if he's drunk, it doesn't take place, and he has to repent to Allah Azza wa Jal from this major sin, which is consuming intoxicants. The second question is from Aisha Salah. And she says, I'm debating with my husband about the above issue. What's the Islamic judgment about killing non-Muslim people because of offending the Prophet ﷺ? What's the ruling on attacking embassy staff for representing the USA, which allows YouTube to broadcast offending videos about the Prophet ﷺ? First of all, we have to know that you cannot be a Muslim without having the compassion, the affection to protect and defend the Prophet ﷺ from any negative or any thing that is not suitable to be said against him ﷺ. You're not a Muslim. However, you cannot express this by doing un-Islamic things. First of all, this film that was finally now they know, it's known that it was produced by Coptic Christians in America for the mere political intention to stir up problems in the Muslim world, especially in Egypt, and to undermine the government of the newly elected Muslim President Muhammad Morsi. So this is their aim. Everybody talks about it. And we know that the USA, as a government, and I'm not defending them, I don't have any relationship with them. On the contrary, I criticize a lot of their policies and a lot of their wrongdoings, such as the drone attacks that go unquestioned, and no one can do the same to them. They have the upper power and they have the ultimate supreme power to do whatever they like, unquestioned. No one agrees with this. No one agrees with their military missions and their war against Muslim countries. Nobody agrees to that. However, we are told in the Quran to be just and fair. So the US government has nothing to do with it. Now imagine if a group of Saudis did a movie criticizing or ridiculing or talking negatively about the Coptic Christians in Egypt. Now, is it fair to say that all Saudis are involved and we have to kill them and we have to burn their embassies and we have to do this and that? They are people who are unknown. We don't know anything of them. Likewise with this film. And let's assume that this film, though it's there and existing, does this harm our Prophet ﷺ by any chance? Akhi, Allah Azza wa Jal has exalted the name of the Prophet ﷺ. وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ. We have exalted your mentioning everywhere in the world. Not a minute passes without the name of the Prophet ﷺ is mentioned with the name of Allah throughout the adhan, the call for prayer, throughout the whole entire universe, even in Alaska. There is people who are Muslim and they're calling the adhan and mentioning the name of the Prophet ﷺ. So, no matter what they do, his name is exalted. His name is high. His mentioning is above all. Not only that, the more they criticize the Prophet ﷺ, the more people are invited to study his biography, his seerah, and to know what his life was like, and to see the effect of his da'wah, the effect of his call and message upon the whole of this universe. So, it's not gonna stop. It started long ago when the kafir were there, when the hypocrites were there. They tarnished his reputation. They slandered his wife at his time. Yet he did not order anyone to be killed. Now look at what the people are doing in Libya and in Egypt and in everywhere, thinking that they're defending the Prophet ﷺ. By Allah, they're not defending the Prophet ﷺ. They may have good intention and enthusiasm, but when interpreted, when depicted and illustrated in such violence, in such demonstrations, this becomes un-Islamic. And they will say, we initially wanted to have a peaceful demonstration. Peaceful demonstration is not part of Islam. If you get 100,000 peaceful demonstrators protesting and just marching in the streets, it needs only 10 of the hooligans, of the hypocrites, to infiltrate them and do acts of violence, and it ends up bloody, and messy. Is this what Islam calls for? No. So one says, how can we defend the Prophet ﷺ? Akhi, the Prophet doesn't need your defense. When Ammar ibn Yasir, may Allah be pleased with him, and with his mother and father, the companion of the Prophet ﷺ, came once to the Prophet crying. And the Prophet said, what happened? He said, the idol worshippers kept on torturing me until I cursed you and said bad things about you. And he's crying and weeping. So the Prophet asked him one question: how do you find your heart? And Ammar said, by Allah, I find it resting with Iman and steadfast on my belief on Islam. The Prophet told him, ﷺ, if they go back to torturing you, go back to talking negatively and saying bad things about me. So the Prophet ﷺ allowed Ammar to do this. Now, if you analyze this logically, one or two people producing such a filthy and worthless clip, and by the way, it was launched in July, not in the end of September, but it is politically motivated. A handful of people who did something like this, 2 months, and it had like 5 or 6 hits on YouTube. All of a sudden, when you do these protests and when you demonstrate and you do this killing and violence, it has millions of hits. Who's advocating it? Who's marketing it? It's you, the hooligans, the mob who are doing things that are not controlled by the Quran, Sunnah, nor by the scholars. Had they gone to any of the scholars of Islam asking them for an opinion? No, they did not. Why? Because they consider these mob, these hooligans, they are Khawarij, probably, or they're ignorant. They consider the scholars to be petrodollar scholars, as they call us. Why? Because they don't say what the people want to hear. And the scholars, like Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen explains and describes, are 3 types. A scholar of the country, of the government. He says what the government wants to hear. And a scholar of the ummah, in the sense that whatever the majority wants to hear from the people, he has no problem in saying halal or haram. And none of those are real scholars. And the 3rd type is the scholar of al-millah, of the religion, who says what pleases Allah and no one else but Allah Azza wa Jal. So I tell Sister Aisha Salah that what had happened is unfortunate, it is un-Islamic, it has to be condemned without any questioning, as we condemn the producers of this clip and those who collaborate with them and those who allow it to be published, like YouTube. YouTube is a kafir form of organization or corporation. They care less about our religion. They say that this is freedom of speech. And all those who advocate and defend this clip, they say that it is freedom of speech. Well, I'll give you a piece of my mind. Are you okay as freedom of speech if I make a film about the Holocaust saying that it's a myth and not a single Jew died? Or, furthermore, if I say that it was a good thing and bad for Hitler that he did not complete the job, this is freedom of speech. I'm speaking my mind. How would you feel if I speak up my mind and say that this terrorist attack or this killing or this assassination is legitimate in Islam, for example, and nothing is legitimate as such, but I'm hypothetically asking, is this freedom of speech allowed in your country? You would say no. If you don't have any honor or any dignity, to the extent that if someone curses Jesus Christ, who you believe in, and you have no problem, freedom of speech. If someone criticizes your mother or slanders your mother or your sister or your wife, you have no problem with that. It's freedom of speech. If you have no dignity, Muslims do. And they highly respect their Prophet ﷺ. So I ask those who allow these actions to take place to reconsider. And to the Muslims, how to protect your reputation of the Prophet ﷺ, you should highlight his biography and seerah, publish books, make TV programs, enlighten people with his beautiful work and his beautiful religion. And this is being done by a lot of the Islamic centers worldwide, alhamdulillah. If you see that they are consistent in doing such acts, you may hurt them or you may hit them where it hurts most, and that is the economy. So don't go to their country. Don't spend your dollars there. Take away your children and put them in other countries where they can get a suitable and good education, whether it's university or whatever. Boycott their products. There are other alternatives. And make this public to everyone. I'm not going to buy this or that because it is originating from that country that is insulting our Prophet ﷺ. And this should not be on the individual level. It should be also on the level of the governments. If the governments are abiding by the rule of Allah Azza wa Jal and they're trying to defend the reputation of the Prophet alayhi as-salatu was-salam. I believe we have a caller. Kamil from Saudi Arabia.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
How are you, sir?
I'm
It's a great
fine.
honor to see you back after a really long time. I
Jazakallah.
hope everything goes well with you and your family.
All is well, alhamdulillah. The honor is all mine. What can I do for you, sister?
Alhamdulillah. Sir, I have 4 questions.
Okay.
My first question is, can a person promise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala any act of worship in return for a favor? For example, can a patient say that, oh Allah, if you cure me, I will offer X amount of money in sadaqah,
Okay.
or pray X amount of rakah in salah as a means of thanks?
Okay.
Are such oaths permitted?
Second.
My second question is, it has part A and part B to it. If there is an area on the body where it is not allowed to put water due to medical reasons, then A, does one do wudu of the other parts, leaving this part as it is? Does that make the wudu valid?
Okay.
And B, during ghusl, if the entire body is washed, leaving that area, does one have to do tayammum to be doubly safe? If
Okay.
yes, how do we do tayammum of that particular part?
Okay.
My third question is, if a woman did not cover up her fasts, which she missed in Ramadan due to periods, and these fasts kept on adding up. Can you hear me? There's a lot of disturbance.
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. I can hear you, yes.
Can you hear me, Sheikh?
I can hear you. Can you see me? I can hear you. Go on. Go ahead. Okay. I think we lost the sister Kamil. Okay. Kamil's first question was about having a pledge or what is known as a nadhr. So she says, can we make pledges to Allah Azza wa Jal in exchange for something, in the sense that, oh Allah, if my child makes it tomorrow in the exam and he passes, I will slaughter a sheep for your sake. The Prophet tells us alayhi salam that this is not recommended. And he tells us that this is a way that Allah extracts from a miser, from a stingy person, because otherwise he would not have slaughtered for the sake of Allah. And this form can be a sort of incentive to humans, but it cannot be a way of treatment to Allah Azza wa Jal. So if you say, oh Allah, if you cure my child, I will give 1,000 riyals as a form of charity. This is not recommended. And the Prophet says that it does not bring any good to you. But if a person is committed and he does that, and he says that that thing already, then he has to fulfill it, and it's a must as long as it's a form of worship. Her second question, she's referring to an area of the body where water must not reach. And this is either due to burn or to a wound. And most likely that this area has a bandage over it, so as in the case when an arm is broken or a leg is broken. So let's assume the two scenarios. If it's burnt, but there are no bandages over it and she cannot wipe water over it, both in ghusl, and which is the total bath, and wudu, which is ablution. In both cases, she should wash the areas needed to be washed, but that particular area that cannot be touched or wiped with water or washed with water, she should perform dry ablution for it. or what is known as tayammum, whether it's before or after. And before is much convenient. So if I want to make wudu or to make ghusl and the area exposed is here, I have to hit the floor once with the palm of my hands and wipe my face once and wipe my hands once, and that is it. And then perform wudu. I wash everything that needs to be washed except that area that I cannot wash, but I wash the rest. And likewise, if I am performing ghusl, if there's a bandage, if there's a cast on it, in this case, I do not perform dry tayammum or dry ablution, which is tayammum. On the contrary, I wash the whole body, and when it comes to it, I just wipe over it. And that does the job, and this suffice, inshallah. Going back to the questions that we had on the emails, brother, we have a caller? Okay, Sister Nada from Saudi Arabia.
Wa
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I have three questions. The first question is related to the Prophet mentioned about Dawud alayhi's fast. I think
mentioned what?
About fast to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So how do we, if we want to fast on Mondays and Thursdays and combine that with the Sunnah, then how do we go about it?
Okay.
That's the question. And the second question is regarding the black flag.
Regarding?
Black flag. Yeah, because there are a couple of hadiths which mentions about the black flag, I think coming from Khurasan.
The black flags. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
And the third question is regarding next.
Regarding?
Next, I wanted to know if next referring to the place in Saudi Arabia or is it referring to Iraq? Because I came across conflicting views about this. So what's the next view about this?
Are you referring to Najd, N-A-J-D?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll answer this, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair.
Wa jazak. Alaikum salam wa barakatuh. Sister Nada had three questions. The first question was in relation to the fasting of Dawood. And the Prophet said, alayhi salam, that this is the most preferred fasting to Allah, which is fasting one day and skipping one day. So she's asking if someone is interested to have this, plus fasting Mondays and Thursdays. What is the way to do this? And scholars say that you should not do that. Because if you fast one day and miss one day, this means that you will fast in 1 week, one Monday, and skip the other week, and you will fast one Thursday and skip the other week. And this is the most preferred to Allah Azza wa Jal. Because if you add to that Mondays and Thursdays, this means that you would fast the majority of the year, not half of it, the majority of it, and this is not recommended. So either you fast this or you fast a day and skip a day. Either you fast Mondays and Thursdays plus the white days 13, 14 and 15th of every lunar month, or you simply skip that and fast a day, alternatively one day and skip one day. She's mentioning about or asking about the hadith regarding the black flags coming from Khurasan and the Mahdi and the likes. And these hadiths that mention the black flags are not authentic. They're all weak, and some of them are fabricated. So do not pay any attention to this issue. We've mentioned this in the series on the signs of the hour, which was aired on Ramadan. And I believe that you can hopefully download it from Huda.tv website. So you may refer to that as well. Also, the third question regarding Najd and the difference upon people, whether it is referring to Najd, which is the center of Saudi Arabia, or Najd, which is Iraq. And anyone who has clear logic and understands English or Arabic, when he sees the hadiths and also looks at the history, he will definitely understand that it is Najd, which is referring to Al-Iraq and Iran. Because all of the fitan, all of the tribulations and calamities were initiated in these two countries, especially Iraq. We have the tribulation coming of al-Khawarij, of al-Murji'ah, also of al-I'tizal, those who came, the Shia, for example. All of these came out from Iraq. So anyone with sense, reading the history, reading the hadith, will understand that Najd is referring to where Iraq and Iran is, and this is where the Antichrist would come from. Those who hate Saudi Arabia because of its oil, because of its charity, because of Mecca and Medina being there, because of its government, because of its wealth, and claiming that they are Wahhabis, spreading fundamentalism and spreading an ideology different than the ideology of the Quran and Sunnah, they would definitely fight tooth and nail to say that Najd is referring to Saudi Arabia or to the center of Saudi Arabia. Kamil is back.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
So I would like to complete my remaining questions.
Okay.
I wanted to know if a woman did not cover up her fast, which she missed in Ramadan due to periods, and these fasts kept on adding until they were like a really huge number, and finally this woman repented and slowly and steadily started covering up all the missed fasts.
Okay.
Does she have to additionally give something in kafara for each fast which she unnecessarily delayed covering up, simply out of laziness or ignorance? And if yes, then what is the kafara?
Fourth question.
My fourth question is lastly, like we missed you last 3 weeks, and in case we really need to get some opinion from you, do you have a Facebook account or an email ID to be in touch with in such situations?
I will inshallah mention it to you inshallah.
And one more thing, I was listening to the answer you gave for my 2B, that if there's an area on the body and how to do ghusl. I couldn't understand, like you do the ghusl and then you just wipe over that area with your dry hands?
If it
Could you
has,
just elaborate on that part, please?
if it has a bandage or it's exposed,
Well, it is actually the area is on the chest due to some medical reasons, and the person takes a bath
Is
without
it
wetting
exposed?
that area. So
Is
what
it
does he do in
exposed?
the end, like when
is
he
it
comes out of the
exposed or
bath?
there is a blaster on it?
Sorry?
Is it exposed or there is a blaster or a
No,
cast?
no, it's not exposed. It has a bandage over it on the
Okay.
chest region.
I will answer your question inshallah.
All right, and thank you so much to the entire Ask Huda team, specifically to you.
Where you
And
come,
Jazakum Allah khair wa barakallah.
What's up? Sister Rima from Saudi. Okay, we apologize to Sister Rima. I hope she calls back again. Kamil's third question is regarding to someone who had a number of days missed in Ramadan due to the monthly cycle, and these months kept on piling up, and she was ignorant. She did not make up for these days because she was lazy. Now she has compiled all of these days and she wants to make up for the missed days. Does she have to pay anything? The answer is no. She has to repent to Allah, she has to seek His forgiveness, and she has to fast these days as soon as possible. As for the bandage that she has or a person has on his chest, when he's performing wudu, water is not affected, so there's no problem. But when performing ghusl, which is total bath after intimacy or after being clean after her menses, for example, if she's a sister, then in this case, Islam tells you to wash all your body as if it's normal, except to the area with the bandages. So you may put another bandage on it or a plastic bag to cover it and put some plasters so you can wash your body freely. Once you're over, you take the outer cover, and then with a wet hand, not fully wet, just a wet hand, you wipe over it, and that is it. You don't have to soak it. You don't have to make it reach to the core. Only water that is, with a hand that is wet, you just wipe over it, and that does the job. As for way to contact me, you can always post your question on my website, which is www.Assim AlHakeem, that's one word, ASSIM, AlHakeem, ALHAKEEM.net. And inshallah, you will get the answer, providing that it's a short question, and the answer would be also short don't expect me to answer your questions in detail. If you want the answers to be in details, contact inshallah islamqa.info and you will find your answers there. We have a short break. Stay tuned, inshallah. We'll be right back.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala choose whom He wills subhanahu wa ta'ala for His mercy, for His messengership, for the revelation to be revealed. This is not for the human beings to make that decision. If a person would turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely, truthfully, asking for forgiveness, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised to forgive. We have as Muslims a duty, and that is to recite the book of Allah, to ponder over the verses, the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to act according to the Quran. The mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala encompasses everything, but who would this mercy will be for? And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sent to all mankind. So the ummah, or the people of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, are all mankind since the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam till the day of judgment. Why waste our life without getting to know every verse in the Quran, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us?
Huda TV is proud to announce the launching of its first loyalty and rewarding program. Huda Fans Club aims at building a one-to-one relationship with our viewers. For an annual fee, club members varying from platinum, gold and silver card holders will be eligible to receive a great range of benefits, services. You will gain access to download versatile programs from educational, dawah programs and nasheeds clips. Also, your club membership card is a backstage studio pass created for those interested to explore behind-the-scene activities. You will enjoy priority when calling into live shows. Also, you can view samples of new programs in production before being aired worldwide. Take this opportunity to join us online and participate in our loyalty program on Huda TV. Huda Fans Club, where fans of Islamic media meet.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. Brother Tawsif has a question. He says, I'm from Indian Kashmir. We have a custom here that the bride on arrival at the in-laws' house for the first time is made to slaughter a sheep before she enters the house. Is this permissible? Well, this depends. If it is the woman that is forced to slaughter a sheep herself before entering the house, this is an innovation. It has nothing to do with Islam. And not only that, if the intention is to keep the jinn away, this is shirk. This is associating others with Allah Azza wa Jal, and it nullifies a person's Islam. Because in some countries, when people are building a house, while the foundation is being set, they did not build the walls yet, but the foundations are being set. In some countries, it's a custom that they slaughter a sheep and they bring the blood and they put it or paint the pillars with it. Some countries, after the house is built, before they move in, they slaughter a sheep and the doorsteps, they put the blood of this sacrifice on it. And this is all shirk, because they are giving this sacrifice to the jinn so that they would not inhabit their house. Okay, we have Sister Maryam from Nigeria. Sister Maryam.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Mute your TV.
I have one question.
Mute your TV, Maryam.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Yes. My question is, as a Muslim born into a Christian family,
Okay.
when those parents of yours pass away, and you are asked to perform the last rite, just by going to the graveyard and performing the rite by pouring salt on the disease. Are you, as a Christian, as a Muslim, and the biological side of those parents, are you allowed to perform those rites with the other children?
Okay. Any more questions?
No, that's not.
Okay, I will answer your question, inshallah. Going back to Tawsif's question. So, all of these are acts of shirk. But if you are saying that it's a custom in our country that when a couple are married, when the wife moves into the house of her husband, they slaughter a sheep and they invite people to eat from it as a walima or as a dinner or a lunch or a feast. This is normal, this is permissible, and there's nothing wrong in that. So you have to know what the intention of that slaughtering would be. Sister Maryam is saying that if there is a family and there's one of the members of the family is a Muslim, but the rest are Christians. If one of the family member dies as a Christian, so can she or he as a Muslim participate in the funeral rites? And the answer is no. It is not permissible for a Muslim to contribute or to share in preparing the body, in the funeral, in the burial, in the prayer, in the church, if they're doing something like this, in the reception. All of this is not permissible for him to attend, because this is related to their religion. And he's, as a Muslim, he cannot contribute or participate in rituals relating to their religion. However, afterwards, if there's a place where the family members gather and people give their condolences, though Islamically we're not supposed to have this, but if there would be negative opinion to that Muslim in the Christian family, then it is permissible for him to stay in his house, because usually what happens is that people visit them in their house and he's in his house. There's nothing wrong in that. When people give him condolences, he just simply says thank you. Unlike if a Muslim dies in a Muslim family, then it is not permissible to have a reception afterwards. Yes, you may participate, you must participate in the funeral rites, in the burial, in the washing, in the prayer, in everything. But afterwards, the 3 days where it's customs in many Muslim countries to have a reception, and between Maghrib and Isha, people come and we offer them coffee or tea, and we usually put a lot of chairs outside of the house and hang lights to indicate where the morning is. This is all part of the innovations that are not permissible. Amina says, I was wondering if claiming compensation from a company is permissible or not. She's asking about an incident. For example, if I order a book or I order a bag, and the company says, okay, they charge me for it, and they say that it will come after a week or two. And on the designated date, it is not there. And I wait for another week or a third or a fourth, and my stuff is not there. Am I entitled for compensation? So can I say, well, you have to give me my money back and you have to give me the bag for free? This is not permissible. Breaking a promise, postponing the delivery, this is not a sin. If this is something they are unable to take care of. And I will continue, inshallah, answering this question after taking Bilal's call.
Wa alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sheikh, I have one question.
Yes.
Has for a practice where
Line is breaking, Bilal.
Hello?
Your line is breaking. Are you talking from a mobile?
Yeah.
Well, okay, try to get a better reception area. Your question again?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
My husband works for a company where he is provided with a medical insurance.
Okay.
Is it permissible to use this medical insurance rakats.
Okay. Any more questions?
Oh, difficult.
Okay, I will answer your question, inshallah. Salah from Saudi Arabia. Salah from Saudi Arabia. Salah. Salat. Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
No, I'm Karima.
Oh, Karima. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, Karima. What can I do for you?
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
I have a question regarding Salah.
Okay.
That is, if one is praying like 2 or more rakats of Sunnah, now at the end of first 2 rakats, now say Assalamu alaikum, and then is it necessary to recite Astaghfirullah, and all those things? And then again, when I begin the next 2 rakats, is it necessary to recite the opening dua? That is.
Okay, I will answer your question, inshallah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Mahbub from Emirates.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Sheikh, I have one question regarding Salatul Qasr. Like when we are traveling and we have a group of the people together, we can pray either Maghrib Isha together or during Maghrib time, or also Isha and Maghrib Isha together during Isha time.
Okay.
But can we perform like Jamaat while at the same time, like during Maghrib time, after praying the Maghrib, immediately can we actually call another Jamaat and pray Isha?
Okay. I will answer your question, inshallah. Fawziya from Saudi. Sister Fawziya.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
I have a question regarding the horoscope.
Okay.
My question is it, I had that reading horoscope in Islam is haram. So my question is it the reading of Zuri sign, bad sign in Islam, is it permissible or is also right or
Reading what?
Zuri sign, this horoscope.
Okay, okay. Okay. I will answer your question, inshallah. Okay. We have Bilal from the Emirates. She's asking about medical insurance. Her husband works in a company and they insure medically for him and his family. So can we utilize this? The answer is yes. Now in Saudi Arabia, insurance in general is forbidden. But when it is compulsory by the government or by the authorities that you have to have this, in this case, as long as you're paying for them, then you may utilize their services, and they are the one. It's not logical that we give them money and not use their services. So as long as it is not voluntary, it's mandatory by the government or by the company, or it's a gift from the company, then there's no problem, inshallah, in using that at all. Karima from Saudi Arabia, she is asking about praying sunnah prayer, and afterwards, after concluding the sunnah, is it like the fard, that it is recommended that to say astaghfirullah, 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 Allahumma tassalam, minka salam, tabarak ya dal jalali wal ikram? The answer is no. This is only to be recited and said after the fard salah, as the voluntary prayers, the Prophet was never reported to us that he used to say it, so it is not to be said. And what about the inauguration dua, supplication, which has a number of forms, subhanakallahumma wa hamdik tabarak asmuka ta'ala jadduk wa la ilaha ghayruk, or Allahumma ba'id bayni wa bayna khataya kama ba'adta bayna al-mashriq wal maghrib, etc. Do we have to say it in voluntary prayers? And the answer is no. It is a sunnah, it is recommended, but it is not voluntary, neither in nafil prayers nor in fard or mandatory prayers. Both cases, it is a sunnah. Mahbub from the Emirates, he's asking about qasr. And for your information, Mahbub, qasr is shortening the prayer from 4 into 2 rak'ahs. And that applies only to 3 prayers: Dhuhr, Asr, and Maghrib. Your question is not regarding qasr, it is regarding jam', which is joining or combining prayers. So Brother Mahboob's question was very simple. If we're traveling and we're on the road, it is time for Maghrib. Can we pray Maghrib, which is 3 rak'ahs, and then make or combine Isha to it? And the answer is yes. You combine Isha to it at the time of Maghrib and you pray 2 rak'ahs. Or if you're driving or flying and you delay Maghrib to be prayed with Isha and the time of Isha, this is also permissible. You pray Maghrib 3 rak'ahs and then you conclude that and you make Iqamah and you pray Isha 2 rak'ahs, shortening it and combining it with Maghrib at the time of Isha. Both ways can be applicable as done by the Prophet ﷺ. Fawziya from Saudi Arabia is asking about the zodiac signs or the horoscope, or as they call them. What's the ruling on reading them? Well, these signs are, I think, 12, and they are divided on the calendar year, the Gregorian year. So each one, if he was born in this month, they would say that you are a scorpion, that you are a bull, that you are stupid, depending on the zodiac a person is. And they have a list of characteristics. So all the people that were born on the 23rd of November, as I was, they say that the scorpion, for example. And scorpions have big foreheads, and they have this attitude, and they are like this and that. So people tend to believe in that. And they give general description that 80% of it may fit that description. And not only that, people would go on to say that on this day, in September, for example, you will find some fortune, but you will have a catastrophe. So don't go out between Asr and Maghrib, for example. And people believe in that. Anyone, and this is a rule of thumb, anyone who reads these horoscopes or these signs or zodiac signs just for the fun of it, just for the fun, he goes through it not believing. He believes that Allah Azza wa Jal is the controller of all affairs, but he just goes for the fun of it. 40 days of his upcoming prayer will not be accepted at the side of Allah. And he must pray, because if he doesn't pray, he becomes a kafir. So he prays 40 days and he would not be rewarded for that. But if a person believes in that, so they say tomorrow there will be an accident, don't go to work. Next morning, he doesn't go to work. Because of that, this guy has nullified his Islam. He becomes a kafir because he believed that other than Allah, no, the unseen, and he believes that these zodiacs and these stars affect his life, and this is blasphemy and shirk. Abdul Qadir from Saudi Arabia. Brother Abdul Qadir. Excuse me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have one question, Sheikh.
Yes.
Yeah, my question is about the big farm, big.
Akhi, mute your television. Listen to me from the phone. Don't listen to me from the television.
Okay. So, we are working in a big farms like Al-Marai.
Big farms like Al-Marai?
Yeah. Big farms like Al-Marai.
Okay.
So, whereby we do night shift and day shift shughl.
I could not understand you.
Yeah, day shift and night shift shughl. Because sometimes we miss the chances of praying Jumu'ah prayer for the day shift people. So something maybe you miss 3 months, for 3 months maybe you are in day shift and you miss time for going Jumu'ah prayer. So what can as a Muslim about, will it be affecting, or how can we?
Do you have a masjid in the area?
Yeah, so masjid, yeah, maybe it's outskirts, some maybe 5 kilometers away from the area, but accessibility to the mosque sometimes is inconvenient.
Okay, I will answer the question, inshallah. Okay, we're through with Sister Fawziya's question. Brother Abdul Qadir's question, if I understand it correctly, he's asking about a dairy company known as Al-Mara'i, and they have, it's one of the biggest companies in the Middle East, if I'm not mistaken, and they have farms outside the skirts of maybe Riyadh, maybe Kharj, maybe different areas of Saudi Arabia, and he is saying that they miss and they do not pray Jumu'ah prayer. So is this permissible? The answer is no, it is not permissible at all. I asked him about, is there a mosque close by, and he says there is a 5 kilometers mosque away from them. And 5 kilometers is nothing. You can walk that in less than like 15 minutes or so. So by car, it's maybe a couple of minutes. It is mandatory for you to pray the Jumu'ah in the masjid. Now, if you are in an area that it is not in a village, it's not in a town, it's somewhere in the desert, is Jumu'ah mandatory? The answer is no. Jumu'ah is obligatory and mandatory only when people are residing. So if we have makeshift camps in the desert, or we have somewhere offshore, you know, an oil rig, for example, do they pray Jumu'ah? The answer is no. Jumu'ah is only to be prayed when people are residing. So if you are next to a village or a town, they are resident, it's a place that they establish Jumu'ah in, and you're 5 kilometers away, it is mandatory for you to go and pray. And if your boss does not allow you to do this, quit the job, because your prayer comes first. And if you don't pray 3 consecutive Jumu'ahs, 3 consecutive Fridays in a row, Allah Azza wa Jal, as the Prophet tells us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, would stamp, would seal a person's heart if he does this. How is it sealed? It is sealed to the extent that people would not recognize truth when they see it, they would not adhere to Allah's instructions, and they would not remember Allah, which is a grave and serious thing to happen to a Muslim. And therefore, you should know that your life on this earth is limited, and your prerogative, your objective in this life is to worship Allah and to reach the maximum level or the highest level in paradise. And obeying your boss, obeying your company, which is completely unaccepted. And I think there is a mistake and there has to be a misunderstanding. Knowing that a big company like Al-Mara'i in Saudi Arabia, I can say this openly, that they would never ever prevent you from going to pray in the masjid. Jumu'ah prayer especially. Because this is unacceptable in Saudi Arabia, and Mara'i being one of the biggest and largest companies, local companies, they would never prevent their Muslim employees from attending Friday prayer. So I urge you to go and contact your manager and contact the highest level, and they will respond to you, inshallah, and will allow you to pray. Kareem? Okay, Karima, sorry. Yes, Kareem.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu wa rahmatullah.
I did call earlier, and thank you very much for answering.
Okay.
Regarding the Sunnah prayers, now if I am praying 4 rakahs Sunnah prayers, that is after the first 2 rakahs I say Assalamu alaikum and so on, and then my question is, when I begin the next 2 rakahs, should I recite the opening dua?
I answered this, Karima. I said.
Okay, thank you. So probably I didn't.
I will tell you. I will tell you. If you're praying 4 rak'ahs.
I don't need to. It is not necessary.
No, it is not necessary. Neither in voluntary prayers, not even in fard. If I'm praying Maghrib prayer and I say Allahu Akbar and I begin by Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
Yeah.
This prayer is valid. I did not give the Dua al-Istiftah, which is an inauguration supplication. I did not say A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajim.
Yes.
All of this is Sunnah. So if you don't do it, inshallah, your prayer is valid.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you.
I don't know if we have time for one more question concerning Amina. She's wondering if claiming compensation from a company is permissible. Now, I said that to go and demand for something that's not yours, this is not permissible. This is unlike when you buy a car, for example, and the company themselves say that this is under warranty for 2 years or 3 years. So whatever happens to your car, we are responsible. And all of a sudden, you have a problem with the gearbox, or you have a problem with some electrical gadgets that are not working, and you take it to them and they change it for free. This is your God-given right, because they're the one who pledged and took the responsibility of giving a warranty over a product they had produced. It is not like when I go and make an order for pizza and they don't bring it on time, or they're an hour or two late, and I say, well, I will take it free. Now, this is not permissible, and it's in accordance to Islam. Liban's last question this night is, respecting and obeying the parents is obligatory on every Muslim, but do you still have to do that when or even if they, for example, put a knife to you or abuse you in any other way? See, transgression is not permitted in Islam, even from your parents. So if your parents want to harm you or to kill you or to do something that threatens your livelihood, you should not accept this. You should defend yourself. You should protect yourself with all means possible. Having said that, this does not mean that you do not respect them or obey them. But as in the hadith, that there is no obedience to any creature in disobeying Allah Azza wa Jal. So if they tell you throw yourself from the window, definitely you're not obliged and you're not allowed to obey them. If they tell you divorce your wife, or if they tell you don't eat apples and you want to eat apples, all of these are halal things, and it has nothing to affect them or help them or aid them. So I'm not obliged to obey them. Likewise, if they want to kill me, if my mother pulls a knife on me, and this is hypothetical, if this is something that we cannot comprehend, but hypothetically, if this happens, then yes, you have to defend yourself, protect yourself with all means, even if you had to fight to protect yourself. No one says, no, I'm going to be an obedient and respectful son while they're chopping my head off. No one says this. So harm is intolerable in Islam. You can defend yourself, but all the time try to keep a level of respect and obedience and being kind to them, even if they are aggressors and doing things bad to you. Try to connect to them from far away. Keep on calling them, sending them money, if being there is physically dangerous for you. I'm afraid that this is all the time we have. Until we meet you next week, inshallah, same time, same day. I leave you fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allah is my heart's speech. Your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me. My quest, permit me to pass the
Wife tells about the talaq, he says it was he was drunk, and so it is not valid. However, the wife does not think that he was drunk. Now, what is the Islamic ruling on this situation? Is the marriage intact because the husband is saying he was drunk? First of all, the scholars differed whether the talaq, the divorce of a drunk person, takes place or not. Without going into details, the most authentic opinion is that a person, when he's intoxicated, when he's drunk, his divorce does not take place. His actions have no value because he does not have his mind with him. He's intoxicated. He's sort of insane. He doesn't know what he's doing. This is the first point I'd like to clear out. Secondly, usually in issues of divorce, the couple should go to the Muslim court, where they would consult a Muslim judge who would give them the verdict, because it differs from one country to the other, and it is wise to go to somewhere else where you have the ruling in your country. But if, presuming that they don't have any Muslim court in their country, this is the ruling. Thirdly, the divorce takes place only once. Even if the husband says, you're divorced, 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 taliq, 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 1,000 times. It only takes place once. So if this was the first incident that the husband divorced his wife, in worst case scenario, he can reconcile, because this would be considered to be the first or the second. So he still has the option to reconcile as long as his wife did not deliver. Once he divorces his wife, she is in the waiting period until she delivers. If she delivers, then immediately she is not his wife. To be able to reconcile, he has to have a new marriage contract and a dowry and approval of her guardian, etc. And having said that, we urge the Muslims, the brothers and the sisters, not to be hasty while involved in such issues of divorce, because this is not the Islamic way of giving divorce. Now, does the divorce take place if she's pregnant? And the answer, the consensus of scholars, is that it does take place. So 1 is down, 2 to go, unless he is drunk. But if the wife does not believe he's drunk, this is not her say, as long as it is the first or the second divorce. If it is the third divorce, the last and final divorce, he divorced her twice before and they're all valid, and this is the third divorce and she is sure and certain that he was not intoxicated, she cannot stay with him.
Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to the first Ask Huda live broadcasting from Jeddah after the month of Ramadan. And I pray to Allah Azza wa Jal that Allah accepts all of our deeds, prayers and fasting in Ramadan and in other months other than Ramadan. And until we receive your phone calls, I have a number of emails. The first question is from Anjum. And he says that after a fight, a husband says talaq 3 times to his 7-month pregnant wife and throws her out of the house. He keeps his parents as witness to it. Then he wants to reconcile for the mere political intention to stir up problems in the Muslim world, especially in Egypt, and to undermine the government of the newly elected Muslim President Muhammad Morsi. So this is their aim. Everybody talks about it. And we know that the USA as a government, and I'm not defending them, I don't have any relationship with them. On the contrary, I criticize a lot of their policies and a lot of their wrongdoings, such as the drone attacks that go unquestioned, and no one can do the same to them. They have the upper power and they have the ultimate supreme power to do whatever they like, unquestioned. No one agrees with this. No one agrees with their military missions and their war against Muslim countries. Nobody agrees to that. However, we are told in the Quran to be just and fair. So the US government has nothing to do with it. Now imagine if a group of Saudis did a movie criticizing or ridiculing or talking negatively about the Coptic Christians in Egypt. Now, is it fair to say that all Saudis are involved and we have to kill them and we have to burn their embassies and we have to do this and that? They are people who are unknown. We don't know anything of them. But if it's only the first divorce, even if given in 3 times a row, this has no value and it takes only one place if he is not drunk. But if he's drunk, it doesn't take place, and he has to repent to Allah Azza wa Jal from this major sin, which is consuming intoxicants. The second question is from Aisha Salah. And she says, I'm debating with my husband about the above issue. What's the Islamic judgment about killing non-Muslim people because of offending the Prophet ﷺ? What's the ruling on attacking embassy staff for representing the USA, which allows YouTube to broadcast offending videos about the Prophet ﷺ? First of all, we have to know that you cannot be a Muslim without having the compassion, the affection to protect and defend the Prophet ﷺ from any negative or any thing that is not suitable to be said against him ﷺ. You're not a Muslim. However, you cannot express this by doing un-Islamic things. First of all, this film that was finally now they know, it's known that it was produced by Coptic Christians in America.